Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fourth video of our Getting Started with Profound AI series. In this video, we are going to cover how to do a RAG implementation using Profound AI in a PDF file. This is the IDE in the area we'd use to build our AI applications or agents, if you will. To build a new AI agent, click New AI Agent, and there we have basically our blank AI agent ready for us to build our application. On the right side here, you'll notice some tabs and a bunch of information. And we'll go through this information and I'll explain. We use this information in these tabs over here to help build our AI application. So to build our AI agent, we obviously need a model, and we have lots of model options here. We have some older ones, new ones. We like to use the newest one, GPT-4o. When you're building an application, your heading should be pretty self-explanatory. If you're going to build an HR assistant, you want to, maybe we'll say HR assistant, or a technical application, you'll say maybe it's a programming application. So you'll have your heading be pretty self-explanatory there. Your initial greeting, since this is a prompting, we're asking questions so we get answers. So kind of what we want this to be is, how can I help you? If we were going to build a HR application, how can I help you with your HR needs? Or how can I help you with your programming needs? Things like that. Just kind of a prompting for the topic. So the guidance tab, the best way I can explain the guidance tab is this. We're building an application and we want the AI agent to have the best chance to help us and return the information that we're looking for. In this guidance instructions here, we want to guide the AI agent into understanding what the topic is and what questions will be asked as far as the topic goes. If we're going to build an application, if it's an HR application, we're going to be asking HR-related questions, and we're going to want HR-related responses back. I'll show you in a minute when I show you the live application of what we put in here to help guide the AI agent with those tasks. We have a security tab, and we won't go into any of the details on security in this demo, but just know that there's some authentication and some other ways to set up security to help secure your AI applications. So what I want to do now is I want to show you a working application, a working AI agent that I built, and I'll go through how I built it, and I'll go through all of the information over here on the right-hand side, just like I did while you're seeing my live application. So let's go and let's bring up this application. And today we've built an application for ILE RPG programming. As you can see, it says ILE RPG Programming Assistant. So what I did here was I built an application to be used as a technical assistant for RPG programming needs. As we talked about before, we're going to go in the Agent tab, and we're going to select our model, which I selected GPT-4o. Again, you can select whatever model you want or whatever model makes most sense for your application. For my heading, as I mentioned before, you want it to be very self-explanatory. And basically, we see that it says ILE RPG Programming Assistant, so we know what the application is for. The initial greeting, I mentioned this before, is we want this to be prompting. We want to ask, how can I help you with whatever the topic is? And our topic today is ILE RPG programming. I put, how can I help you with your ILE RPG programming needs today? So prompting them for questions about RPG so I can return those answers. As I mentioned before, the guidance tab, I'm going to show you in my application now, and you'll understand a little bit better what we mean when we're talking about the guidance instructions. As you can see here, I'll raise this up a little bit. You can see the text here, and I'll read it. You are assisting user with computer programming in ILE RPG language. Use the functions and knowledge documents provided to respond appropriately. You will not answer any questions that do not pertain to the ILE RPG document. You will apologize for not being allowed to answer general questions and ask if the user needs any further help. What I'm doing here is I'm telling the assistant that our topic is ILE RPG programming, and those are the answers that I want back. It's not going to be an application to ask HR questions or what's the current cost of a gallon of gas. We're talking about ILE RPG programming, so we want to be specific and we want those answers returned by the agent. I didn't really set up any security for this application. And then the last piece, so in the beginning, we talked about a RAG implementation, and a RAG implementation uses information from external sources I had mentioned before. And our external source, in this case, the ILE RPG programming guide. So we're going to use that as our source of information that we talked about up here in our guidance piece. And we talked about the knowledge documents. This is our knowledge document down here. So we added that by clicking the little plus sign here, add. And I already have some documents listed here, so I could select whatever document I needed for my application. You could upload, you can remove those. So whatever application you're building and whatever documents you need, you can add them here or remove them or whatever. I obviously selected the ILE RPG programming guide, and that's the document that I used for my application that we're talking about. The last piece to kind of tie all this together, we need to click this little sync button down here. This is the vector DB, and the simple way to explain this is it kind of ties everything together, the document with the application and the information and that type of thing. The information will come from the document, and you'll see how everything works when we start asking this thing questions. So basically, that's it. We have our application. And when I walk through this, I mean, maybe 5-6 minutes of walking through this, and I know I did it rather quickly here, but it's pretty easy to see that with just selecting a few bits of information and getting your topic down here, and then obviously adding your knowledge document, we have an application that's ready to work. So let's see if our application works. We have an application that pertains to ILE RPG programming. So we want to ask questions that pertain to that topic. Let's see, how can we create a module? So let's say that you had some junior programmers on staff and they weren't schooled enough to understand how to create a module or a service program or whatever. We had this slick little tool, AI tool, and they can use this and they can ask questions about ILE RPG programming. So let's see if this application works. So as you can see, I asked my question to the assistant, and rather quickly, it's returning some information about my topic. And as you can see, it's returning a bunch of information. And as I mentioned before, it's not returning just one simple exact answer. It's giving a bunch of information about creating a module. And as we see, I'll scroll back up here. So as you can see, it gives us a step-by-step of how to do this, how to prepare the code, what the command is. It talks about creating the module, binding, using service programs. So as I mentioned in the beginning, it just doesn't give an exact answer. It gives the answer, but it also gives lots of information. So it's a really cool thing. In the RAG implementation, that's how it works. It gives you lots of a robust answer, as I said before. Let's try another one. How do I call a Java program from RPG? And again, you'll see I ask my question relatively quickly. Here's my response of how to call a Java program from RPG. And it's giving me, again, a ton of information on what I need to do and some other information to be successful. But the thing that I wanted to show you was, and maybe you caught this when I was typing my question, you see that I misspelled RPG. As I mentioned before in this guidance section over here, the AI agent knows that we're talking about ILE RPG. So it was smart enough to know that even though I misspelled RPG, that we were still talking about RPG. And as you see down here, it basically gives us the information on how to call a Java program from an RPG program. Again, super intuitive, really slick, and it understood, even though I misspelled a word, what the topic was and what the answers were needed to be returned. The last thing I want to show is the implementation that we're doing today. We have a document attached, which is the ILE Programmer's Guide, if you will. and it's in English. I don't know Spanish very well, but I use Google Translator, and I have here on the screen, how do I create a module in Spanish? So what I'm going to show here is, again, how quickly the agent returns the information. And I don't know Spanish either, and you may not either, but you see that it returned the same information that we asked before in English, but it's returning it in Spanish. So what's really cool about that is that if you have some folks on staff that are multilingual, or maybe they only speak Spanish or read Spanish, they can type in questions in a language and it'll go out to this English document and return the answers in Spanish. So again, just another little slick thing about our AI product where it just does some really cool things in asking questions in another language, returning them in another language. I don't care if it's German or Russian or something like that, it'll return the answers how you want them. Just another little slick thing about the product. So there you have it. There's our demo today on a RAG implementation. I think you saw how quickly and easily it was to build this application. And as you can see, and we talked about before, the possibilities are endless. You can think of lots of ideas just in this technique here, even for a RAG implementation, of how many different things that you could think of to make little agents and assistants with our tool. I hope you enjoyed the demo. And please contact Profound Logic if you have any questions or AI needs. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.